In the town of Darkness Falls was a woman named Matilda Dickson. She was a friend to the children in the entire village. When they lost their baby teeth, they would bring them to her house, and she'd give them a gold coin. It was such a sweet system. But then one night, there was a fire that broke out. It scarred up her face to the point that she could only go out at night. And because the light hurt her skin every time it touched it, she was seen as a bit of a freak. But the townsfolk left her alone until two children went missing, and they blamed Matilda. So they pulled her out of her house and burned her and took her mask off. And she was quoted as saying, "What I once took in kindness will now be taken in revenge, and your town will never sleep." In the town of Darkness Falls, which was directed by Jonathan Liebsman, who directed such films after this as Battle Los Angeles, Wrath of the Titans, and the Ninja Turtles 2014 movie. Well, I mean, he sort of moved up, at least as far as budget and everything. If you've never seen Darkness Falls, oh boy, are you in for a trip, because it's barely a movie. It's more of a concept. This is how short the movie was. They had to add 10 minutes of end credits just to get it to 85 minutes so it would qualify for a theatrical release. I'm not fucking kidding. It's absolutely frightening how much this movie feels simultaneously stretched out, yet also rushed through. Like, it's barely a concept. It's not the worst idea in the world, but it's the execution. It's a PG-13 horror movie, even though it was advertised with an R rating. It also came out in 2003. So time has not been kind to this movie. I remember watching this in theaters because I worked at the theater in town at the time and did not like it. Did not like it at all. 3 fucking people wrote this. Joe Harris, John Fasano, and James Vanderbilt, who went on to do better things. At least Mr. Vanderbilt was able to go to the university that he was named after. I kid. Vanderbilt University was probably around as the same time as James Vanderbilt. Why I'm picking on James Vanderbilt, I have no goddamn idea. But 3 people wrote this screenplay that went so goddamn well and had so much meat to it that they had to add the aforementioned 10 minutes of credits. That's why I did that overly long musical intro, because I'm just doing what I can to try and provide some entertainment for this schlockfest. The idea of trying to do a darker version of the Tooth Fairy isn't the worst thing in the world, though this isn't nearly as frightening as the Tooth Fairy that Dwayne Johnson was in. Dwayne's Rock Hard Johnson going there, and maybe I shouldn't say that considering it was a kid's movie. He made some odd decisions as far as movies he was in. Not as bad as The Game Plan. Actually, that's unfair. The Game Plan was fine. So this stars Chaney Clay as Kyle Walsh, who is besieged by nightmares, and he always has to stay in the light. Why does he have to stay in the light? Because, hey, there's nothing you can say. Matilda will come for you if the light runs out, so you need to stay in the light, and otherwise you will burn in the night. Hey, okay, enough songs there. Yeah, so Kyle's the main character here, and there's also Caitlin, who's played as an adult by Emily Caulfield Ford, who... Basically, here's the plot, such as it is. The meager fucking plot that it is. Okay, so they have this opening about Darkness Falls and everything, about Matilda, the stuff I did in the musical intro. She was the first Tooth Fairy. She would give them gold coins for their teeth. And she was nice and a kindly old woman. Then the fire broke out and burned her face, and now she could only go out at night because the light hurt her face. Then the kids went missing. But the kids actually weren't missing. They turned up fine the next day. The problem is, during that time, they decided to burn her alive. That's always a good thing to do. Yeah, let's just react to the town freak or somebody that happens to look different than us. Hey, she clearly did this, even though she didn't, and now we're just going to bury our town secret. So then we flash forward a number of years later, because that was about 150 years ago. Apparently we're back in Suikoden 4, where everybody got on the floor and did the goddamn dinosaur. I hated Suikoden 4, seriously. Loved the Suikoden series, hated the 4th movie. It was abysmal. Game, that is. Though it practically was a movie with all the, scenes that they did, the movie scenes. I'll just call them that, basically. It took away the gameplay and just basically said, hey, we're going to have these characters act badly. Let's go back to Darkness Falls, why don't we? Since that's what the whole review is. So we flash forward a number of years later, and there's Kyle with his mother, and Kyle loses one of his teeth and puts his teeth in there, even though Kyle's about 13 years old at this point. He puts his tooth out there or on the nightstand, and oh no, the tooth fairy's gonna come and get you. You put it under your pillow, you dumb son of a bitch. Suddenly, Kat shows up, the future adult Caitlin. Emily Browning is Kat here. I don't know why that amused me so goddamn much, considering she would be in an equally horrifying movie, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, just a year after this, and has gone on to be in better movies. She didn't have to try hard to be in better movies than that and this. Like that and like this and that and like that and like this and like that and So, yeah. Basically, she's talking to her, hey, you want to take me to this dance? Oh, okay. Well, then Kyle gets besieged by by Matilda the Tooth Fairy. It's a weird Dickson novel. Oh, it's Dickinson. I'm sorry. Charles Dickens, that's what it is. Not Dickson. No, Charles Dickens never did anything about a demonic tooth fairy. Nothing that got released, at least. And his mother ends up getting killed. Well, they suspect that Kyle did it. Kyle didn't do it, though. He was found quivering in the bathtub. In the light. And then smash cut to 12 years later was this going forward in the fucking Summer Olympics. And Kyle, comes back into town because Caitlin and her younger brother, Michael, who I don't know how long or how, virile the mother and father were, but considering that Caitlin is at least supposed to be in her mid-20s by this point, and Michael is about 8, maybe 9, apparently the parents just said, okay, let's wait until one is becoming or just about to become an adult, where things really ramp up as far as expenses. Let's have another kid and raise that. That's a good idea. I'm poking way too much, I'm putting way too much thought and poking way too many holes in the logic and in this screenplay that's got a ton of fucking holes as it is. So, I did actually kind of like the one line, though, in the flashback where the first time should not, taste like blood. That was about a kiss that they actually both shared as kids, by the way. I mean, even though the Tooth Fairy, making them taste their own goddamn blood, would have gone against the PG-13 rating of this fucking horror movie. It's hard to do PG-13 rated horror. The jump scares are absolute ass. Absolute fucking ass. I mean, this is one of the laziest horror movies that I've seen in a while. Like, as far as, like, from 2000 to now. And even if you just focus, like, say, from 2002 to 2022. And just take in the last 20 years. Even if you just focus on the 2000s, this is very, very lazy compared to how some movies were done. Even The Unborn was better than this. The Unborn was dog shit. Did have Odette Yustman in it. That was a good thing. So, the police end up, putting Kyle in some medical care, and then Caitlin contacts Kyle because, hey, Kyle, you know all about this stuff. My brother isn't able to sleep. He can't get no sleep. And now I can't remember that goddamn song. That's one of the lyrics in this song. I think it was from the 90s or 2000s. And it had weird techno music to it. I'm probably not helping at all. But she's like, hey, did you ever get over this? Oh, yeah, I got over it. And there's these drawings of the fucking Tooth Fairy, Matilda, and all that stuff. And, well, Michael can't sleep. Since he can't get no sleep, he's kind of going nuts. Kyle decides to, kind of blow it off and everything. But he does come back to town. Even though he's on a bunch of antipsychotic drugs, because he was pumped full of medicine when he was put in foster home care. Because that's what you fucking do. You just fuck up a goddamn kid. You don't give him a normal life. Let's pump him full of drugs because we think he killed his mom, even though he didn't. So Larry's an old friend, and he's not in a leisure suit. He's actually in a regular suit. So fortunately, we don't have any, weirdly graphic, bullshit going on. And Kyle and him go to a bar. Well, he doesn't want to drink because he's on medication. Then this one guy decides to pick a fight with him, cliche villain 101, gets in a fight with him, they tumble into the woods, and then the guy gets offed. The funniest thing about this goddamn violence is it all happens off screen because, again, PG-13 horror, but even then, you could show something, but nope, we just have to assume that anytime we hear or anytime we hear or anything that sounds like a pterodactyl having a series of strokes, that it is a Tooth Fairy. The Tooth Fairy. Toot. Basically, we just have to assume that that's happening. And people suspect that Kyle did it. Kyle's doing all this stuff, and it was kind of funny that the cops, how stupid they were. They just left Larry on his own because he was looking for, it wasn't leisure looking Larry. He was just looking for Kyle instead of looking for Guffman. Wait, that's waiting for Guffman. I'm sorry, I got my movies screwed up. And Larry ends up having the body of the guy fall on him. Well, they suspect that Kyle did it. The cops grill him on this, and after, by the way, he goes back to the hospital to talk to Caitlin while Michael's there, and Caitlin apparently is either a registered nurse or the nurse has no staff, and these are the good old days when you could just trust a civilian to do your medical stuff for you, take shrapnel out of your head, and be fine. I don't know why that bothered me, because there's so many other illogical things that have happened in various slashers and various horror movies. Some that were infinitely better, others that were even worse. I don't know why that stuck out to me, where I'm like, why is she... Are the nurses not here? Did they just all go on break? Did they get assumed into heaven for 5 minutes? And the cops grill him about his antipsychotic drugs. And oh, you need to stay in the light. Stay in the light. No, don't go to the light, Carol Ann. Don't go to the light. There's cookies. Don't go to the light. Oh, you went to the light way too soon in the late 80s. That was infinitely mean for no reason. And the doctor ends up saying, hey, we're going to put your brother in a sensory deprivation chamber. Easy for me to say. It'll cure him of his stuff. We clearly don't think that there's any problem. And Kyle basically, well, says, hey, we need to get some flashlights and shit. So he goes to the local hardware store, ends up stealing a gun. Because as a retail worker, I can tell you sometimes we don't pay attention when we're selling some things that we shouldn't be, and we'll just leave our keys everywhere. We're kind of idiotic. I can say that as a retail worker. And Larry had, by the way, taken, been released to, or Larry had Kyle released to his custody because he's a lawyer and he wants to help him because they're old friends, I guess. They established that in one, little scene when they were kids. And then he's driving him away while Michael's going to get put in this chamber thing. And then the car decides to crash itself, seemingly. The tree comes from out of nowhere. And then the Tooth Fairy decides to take him away, and they're coming to take me away, haha. And Larry, because he's dead, says, sorry, Larry, I'm going to take your car. Maybe you're okay, but you're screaming stupidly off in the distance, so I'm just going to take your car. And that's when cars had cell phones. Actually, cars had cell phones back in the 80s, but still, those freaking brick cell phones from the early 2000s. You could smash somebody in the head. Ow. You could smash somebody in the head with those things, and it would be a lethal weapon. So he ends up getting arrested after trying to get Michael out of the chamber thing, which even though he stops that and he's still in the hospital, they arrest him. What was stopping them from just having him do the chamber therapy? Because he was still right there. It wasn't whatever. He ends up getting arrested, and there's all these lights there. It kind of reminded me of the police jail scene in Jeepers Creepers, only with far less molesters on the goddamn set. Much as I love Jeepers Creepers, if you Google the name Victor Salva, you will understand why. How he got work, I have no fucking idea. And that goes for anybody. But the police decide to have a gunfight at the monumentally stupid character corral in the jail, and are shooting the lights. Instead of shooting at the ghost, or the apparition, or whatever, or maybe doing the smart thing and listening to the guy that's been right about things so far, let's shoot the lights out. Because baby, when the lights go out. And then all of a sudden he gets freed, and it's dangerous to go alone, and when you're stupid, take this flashlight. And they end up, the few remaining survivors, Michael, Caitlin, Kyle, and one of the cops, go up, and they're going to go to the lighthouse. And they're going to go to the lighthouse that's gas-powered. They have a bunch of gas cans, because why not? And they're going to go hold out there and kill the creature, or just stay there for a while. They're going to do something. They're going to have an orgy while Michael is off there in the corner reading stories. It'd actually be a threesome, considering there's only 3 people there. That's how these things work. And it would not be the weirdest threesome I've seen on the internet. Always delete your search history. So they end up, actually before that, they end up in a crowded elevator that gets slow. And Matilda's just trying to get at them. I don't know why she's just strictly focused on this. Maybe because she couldn't get to him and no, there's literally nobody else she could target. But I'm just going to keep targeting this guy, she's thinking. So then they get to the lighthouse. And then this is still not as weird as the movie The Lighthouse. If you've seen that, it's very, very bizarre, but very, very good. A24 is fucking awesome. They get there where it takes about 18 years to kill off kill off Matilda. Light gets exposed. She starts burning. He gets his arm on fire from the light here and hits her in the head, and that's enough because her mask is broken. And oh no, she's dead, and she's flying like that, and that's pretty much it. And then they smash cut to another kid that has his teeth under the pillow. And oh great, they're hanging a sequel. And then they do 11 minutes of credits. I think I put more effort into the movie, or into the review, than they put into the movie. And I'm not saying that the crew didn't try. This felt much like studio interference where they said, yeah, that's good enough. We're going to cut a few things. Maybe there were some deleted scenes that actually would have helped this movie. I don't think much could have helped it, but it was what it was. It sucked, though. Darkness Falls was really ass. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.